and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to our webinar on leadership in the fire service. Today we have a special speaker, Mr. John Alston. John's got 35 years experience in the fire service. He's a certified John Maxwell coach. He's the actual fire chief of New Haven Fire Department in Connecticut. He's retired from Jersey City Fire Department. He's a former chief of staff, former chief of special operations, former chief of training. He's also a IAF master instructor. He's a pro board instructor. He's a national foam instructor, advanced flammable liquids, and a 10-year veteran in heavy rescue. John responded to the towers. So if he lets you guys, you might be able to pick his brain a little bit about that. But today we're gonna concentrate on leadership in the fire industry. With that, you got it, John.
Okay. Ricardo, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I sent you a short bio. The reason why I wanted to send you that information is that we have a lot of different people on this webinar that have different responsibilities, and a lot of different people who have different experiences, and a lot of people that have different ranks. So what happens in any organization, many times we look at the organization from where we are. There's an old African proverb when they asked 3 blind men to describe what an elephant looked like. Well, first of all, they couldn't see. All they knew was what was in front of them. And so one walks up to the back of the elephant and says, "It feels like a wall with a fan." The other one walked over and he ended up touching the elephant's trunk. And he said, "Feels like a pointy spear. That's what it feels like." Then the blind man, who is a firefighter, walks up to the front, grabs the elephant by the trunk, and he says, "Ah, this is large diameter hose. I can put out a fire." Everyone has their own experience. Everyone brings their own eyesight, and everyone talks about what's in front of them. But in the emergency management business, we are all connected to that one organization, that one being. In other words, we're all part of the elephant. Each of us has a different responsibility. The elephant's trunk has one responsibility. The elephant's tusks have another responsibility. And I guess you can figure out what the back of the elephant is for. All right? Each of us has a job. Each one is important. And so when it comes to leadership, it doesn't matter whether you're wearing a white shirt, a blue shirt, coveralls, a jumpsuit, it doesn't matter. Leadership is at every level of our organization. And if we don't make those connections, if we don't make the responsibilities known, the job that we have to do and how our job fits with everyone else's job, then the organization breaks down. If an elephant loses its trunk, it cannot feed itself many times. If it loses its trunk, if it loses its tusks, it cannot defend itself. And if it loses the other end, well, we've got a whole nother problem going on. So everything works together, everything. And so what I wanted to share with you today is I've worked in several organizations. I've worked with a lot of organizations in emergency management, in the private sector. And what I found is that everything rises and falls on leadership. I learned that through John Maxwell, but I also learned that through some very good mentors and friends of mine. One was Dr. Dennis O'Neill, who was in charge of the National Fire Academy, which was training for every department in the United States. But he started as a firefighter in my department. And he and I began to work together back in 1986, a long time ago. And he expressed at that time, yes, it's very important for us to know how to fight fires. It's very important for us to know our job, our medical responses. But leadership and management, accountability, responsibility, they all go together. Now, when I was a firefighter in the firehouse, I wasn't thinking about responsibility. I was thinking about when are we going to get a job and what are we going to eat? Those were my biggest concerns. I never gave any concern about making sure that I understood my responsibility and how it affected everyone else. I really wasn't concerned until I got to a scene on the citizens and making sure that they're protected, or that I was going to go home safe to my family the next day. I went from moment to moment, incident to incident, not knowing how each one of those things impacted the other. Fortunately, I worked with some people who understood that and wanted to impart that to me and wanted to explain that to me and tell me that every one of us, and I'm looking at all of you on this screen, every one of you is tied to the other. When Chief Vanterpool and I talked about leadership, and we've talked a couple of times, we've bumped into each other at different conferences. He actually is taught with some of my friends from Jersey with Marine firefighting. I've taught out at Texas A&M with advanced flammable liquids, where we fight fires, large-scale fires, rail car fires, gasoline fires, propane, you name it, refinery fires. And I've looked at some of the history in your organization, and thank you, Chief, for sending that to me, because you play a very unique role, not only in your organization, but in the world. The Panama Canal, its history, and I've read a lot about it, a lot about your history of how it was constructed, why it was constructed. If we talk about why things happen and how things happen, you will get as granular or small as you want or minute as you want, or you can go to the grand scale. But you think about it. There's an old saying about the Panama Canal. This is how important you are. There's an old saying that says, if the Panama Canal sneezes, every port in the world catches a cold, because you are inextricably tied to commerce, transportation, and economics. You just went through a major expansion with 2015, 2016, went through a major expansion because from whence you started, where you started from, you used to use a lot of manual labor, steam, not a lot of hydraulics, but steam and mules. If you think about how the canal started, think about the people that tried to start the canal and failed. Now you have ships that are guided by satellites. You have interlocks. You have fire stations. You provide medical care. You provide special operations, whether it be high-angle rope rescue, flammable liquids, or hazardous materials response. Think about that. Every person on every team is a leader. So I work in a union shop. I can say this because I noticed the IAFF emblem on your presentation from before. I was a member of the IAFF for 34 years. I was fortunate to become one of their master instructors. But I benefited from that side of the table for the union bargaining on my behalf. But now as a chief, I'm on the other side of the table, bargaining on behalf of the city and the agency that I represent. I can tell you, sometimes it's very trying, but it still does not stop my responsibility for making sure that my people are safe, they are properly trained, properly outfitted with the right equipment, part of a team, and have an assignment. When we have that, and when we have structure and systems, then we can almost guarantee that they're going to go home to their families safe the next day or after our tour, the same or better than when they came in. And that's important. So in other words, whether you're on this side of the table or that side of the table, we want the same things. We want our people safe. We want them compensated. We want to make sure that they're safe when they go home to their families. But more importantly, we follow our systems and we follow our structure to make sure that we take care of the people that we are protecting. In other words, gentlemen, wear the badge. Wear it. Don't hide behind it. Wear it. When you wear the badge and you assume your responsibilities, leadership becomes influence. That's really what it is. And think about it. Every one of you is a leader. Think about where you are in your communities and your families. I know this after 35 years. When there is a problem, they're going to seek you. Whether it's your family members, whether it is your community leaders, they're going to seek you. Why? Because you are influential just by being who you are. But that's not enough. You have to wear the badge. So that's my introduction. I hope that works for you. If it doesn't, we're going to figure it out. I'll take some questions midway through, but I basically wanted to have a conversation about leadership, and so that we can talk about some other things as we move through, if that works for you. Believe it or not, that was an organization that I run. It's called the Fire Officer Trust. I do a lot of training all over the world. What that allows me to do is work with my passion. And my passion is developing leaders and managers. Developing leaders and managers at every level of an organization. There are some people that have gifts, and there are other people that have training. I'm fortunate enough to have the training, and I hope that this is my gift. In other words, if I were a musician and I heard music and someone played a song for me, you played your favorite song. As a musician, I can hear the notes. I can hear the structure. I can hear the beat and the rhythm. Yeah, I can hear that. But am I dancing or am I analyzing? There's a difference. If I were a mechanic and I'm riding in your car, you may know what your car sounds like and feels like every day, but as a mechanic, I may hear something very slight that might save you some money or save you some trouble down the road. As a doctor, if I'm a doctor, I can meet a complete stranger, and just by having a conversation with that stranger, I might detect something that could help them, or probably see a pre-existing medical condition that they haven't addressed. In other words, sometimes it takes a person with a particular expertise or training from the outside to take a quick snapshot. It may not be completely right, but it's what I see. It's my part of the elephant. My fortunate training is, if I treated the fire service as an elephant, I have worked in every position, including shoveling up behind it. I've had every job there is. And I've always sought the expertise of others to move and grow. Now, that sounds boring. You know, why are we here? How does that help me? At the very least, it will keep you safe when you practice responsibility and accountability. It will keep you safe. It will also keep your crews and your staff safe as well. And then guess what? Everyone that we said we were going to help and protect, it will keep them safer too. So the picture that you see there was at a fire. That's Joe Menendez. He's one of my best friends. We have been friends since the academy. We still talk, we still share information, because early on, we recognized that leadership was important. So what we're going to look at are 7 characteristics of every firefighter. This was when I was a battalion chief of the Special Operations Branch. I was in charge of the Marine Division for Jersey City. And what that gave me was access to the Statue of Liberty and Ellis Island. My counterparts was New York City Fire Department on the other side of the river. We formed a task boat force, a fire task force, fire boat task force, in order to protect the ships that were coming in to New York Harbor and into Elizabeth, Newark and Bayonne harbors. So I was experienced in marine shipboard firefighting, but also the challenges of operating a port. All right. Our objective today is that we're going to look at 7 different areas. And I can tell you, believe it or not, the fire service, we have a culture. In our stations, we have a culture. Some people came to this job not because they wanted to be firefighters, but because it was a job. I need money. Here's a job. I can learn a skill. I don't want a promotion. I don't want more responsibility. I want a little more in that wallet. That's what I need to take care of. Sometimes you may have lost a job someplace else, and now you're here. And so what ends up happening is I never thought about leadership. I got it. I never thought about leadership. I always thought about being the best that I could be where I was. It wasn't until I met my mentors and friends that spoke and taught me about leadership and how important it is. In fact, everything is about leadership. Think about your fire station. Think about it. Think about your crew or the apparatus or the company that you work with or the office that you work in. There are leaders that are recognized because of their position and their pay and their rank, but then you also have your unofficial leaders. You have those people that your crews will go to. Many times in the firehouses and fire stations, it's the senior person, the senior man or woman, or it's the highest ranked person. Or in my case, it was the cook. We went to the cook for everything because the cook managed the house. If we had a problem with the officer, we went to the cook. You know why? Because the cook was respected by that officer. So there's a chain of command that's formal, and then there's an informal chain of command. What I am telling you is that everyone that is in this call right now, everyone that's on this webinar right now, has a responsibility for leadership, for participation. It's a responsibility because we have a very dangerous job. And you know, sometimes there's very busy, and then sometimes nothing's going on. It's the quiet times when we get surprised, like the mall fire that you had several years ago, where we get a massive response, many people injured, that we get during the quiet times. That leadership is the most important. When we talk about this, at the end, we're going to talk about something called Kaizen. And I don't spend a lot of time with it, but basically it is a business principle that says everyone has responsibility for change, and everyone can change one thing at a time. Think about the ships that come through your canal. Can they turn instantly? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Sometimes it takes minutes, hours, miles, kilometers to get out and turn a ship gradually. And no one person turns a ship, no one person. So it's important for us to practice leadership. So with that, I want to thank you for allowing me to share some information with you. The ground rules are, we're going to put rank aside for a while. All right? We're going to take these off and we're going to have a little conversation. Nothing that is said here should be held against anyone. No retaliation. We are all interested in growing. We're all interested in having a conversation that will not only keep us safe, keep our families safe, but also keep our crews safe as well. So we're going to have a real conversation as adults about what works and what doesn't work. Can we agree to that? Everyone give me a thumbs up. We can agree to that. Carlos, you didn't, there you go. You didn't put it up. I'm watching you. Good, good. There are going to be some business terms we're going to talk about. Paradigm. Don't worry about the paradigm. Paradigm shift. Don't worry about that. It is a scientific and technical and business term. But a paradigm is a set of rules that we operate out of. When I grew up, my father was in the home. He had rules. When I couldn't follow his rules, I had a paradigm shift. I had to go get my own house and get my own rules. The same thing happens in our organizations. There is a set of rules that we have to follow, certain standards. If we are professional firefighters, we're following the NFPA standards. There are also transportation standards that you have to follow, maritime law that you have to follow. So there's always going to be a paradigm. There's always going to be a set of rules that we either see things through or we operate through. That's just life. And for those of us who are married, there's a whole nother set of rules. We'll talk about that later. We talk about communication. So a paradigm, these are all definitions that I gave you in your handout, so I'm not going to go through them. This is the way different people looked at what we basically know is a set of rules. But here's the thing. I looked at your presentation about where you came from, your first EMT call. When I became a firefighter, we never thought about medical calls, never thought about them. Right now in the city of New Haven, 83% of my workload is medical because fires are down. Fires are down due to construction, due to new fire codes, due to the equipment that we have and the speed we have with which we can respond, smoke alarms and detectors. So fires are down. So what is increased? Technical rescue and medical. Technical rescue and medical, which requires a greater understanding of what we're doing because the penalty for getting it wrong is too high. So our traditional approach has always been this. We wanted certainty and control because we are a paramilitary organization. Things have to happen like this. That's how we are. We view an organization from a limited perspective. Think about the elephant. We think about it just from one place. We have internal focus. Many times in a traditional organization, we can't see what's around the corner. And many times we don't care. We want to take care of our area, what fits in our box. We never look at the relationship between our box and someone else's. We never look at the box in terms of how it affects the top. We expect everything to flow down, and from the top, we expect everything to flow back up to us. That works to a degree in an emergency, but we have a new generation now. There are generational changes. I looked at the number of years and experience that you have. Many of you have 20 plus years, 25 plus years. And we are seeing a change in the people that are coming into our organization. My son is in the fire service. He's been in 8 years. He's 30 years old. Do you think he looks at this job the same way I do? He can't. It's a different experience. And sometimes I just smile when we have conversations about the job because I go, I would never say that to my chief. I would never say that to but there's a different generation that's coming in. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter whether it's right or wrong, it's different. And so when we have a paradigm, when we have a set of rules that we follow all the time in our homes, in our stations, and in our business, and somebody comes along that doesn't fit into that box, we look at them a little strange. Sometimes we communicate with them a little differently, or we don't communicate with them at all. And that affects our overall operation. So sometimes we as leaders, and everyone's a leader, we have to practice patience. I had to learn it. When I came from Jersey City, 31 years of a department that was twice the size of this department, twice the number of stations, larger equipment, greater responsibility, to another department that had its own set of rules, and I came in from the outside, I told them when they hired me, it's going to take 15 to 18 years just to see change. I'm sorry, not years. Never be here that long. Months to see that change. But within the first 12 to 15 months, I had a temporary assignment here. After I explained and made the changes that I needed to make, they offered me another 4 years because they could see a slight difference, just a little bit, a slight difference. Now we're starting to see major differences. We had to change how we train, how we promote and practice firefighting. We changed how we recruit the people that we were bringing into our organization because we had this traditional model. This traditional model is something else. We always look for the right answer. You ask a question, you want the right answer. How many of us are parents here? How many of us have children, sons and daughters? Yeah. Many times we ask them a question, what do we want? Yes or no, right? What do we get? A whole lot of stuff, a whole lot of stuff. And I just want to get to the answer. Well, if that's the way I operate in my home, sometimes I carry that into my organization. And if I have an organization that's paramilitary, that is top, bottom, chain of command, I expect answers right away too. But this new generation doesn't operate that way. It's not right, it's not wrong. They don't operate that way. And sometimes, guess what? That's better, believe it or not. I'm not encouraging anybody to be insubordinate, by the way, just so you know. Oh, let me put this back on. I'll put it back on right now. What I'm saying to you is that don't be afraid of questions. Don't be afraid of questions. There are no dumb questions. The only stupid question is the question that is not asked. All right? So many times we want to avoid conflict. So what do? When someone says something we don't like or we disagree with, we real quick, and then it's over with. Never getting to the root. Now, people will say, I don't have time for that. Sometimes you have to take the extra 3 to 5 minutes just to find out what's going on, just to be clear for yourself, but also there may be important information that that person has that you need, and you're not going to get it. And now you're at emergency. I mean, it would be great if a new firefighter who's driving comes in and says, Captain, Chief, I need to talk to you. And I go, I don't want to talk to you right now. I'm on the phone. I'm busy. It's very important. It's not important. It's not as important as what I have to do. I have something very important to do right now. You talk to me later. Now the alarm goes off. I go downstairs. We get in the car. Are you ready to go? No. Why aren't we ready to go? Because we need gas. We need petrol. That's what I was trying to tell you this morning. Sometimes the extra 3 to 5 minutes may save you a wealth of trouble. Then there are times that you want to make sure you take the pulse of your organization. In other words, get out of the cars, Chief. Get out of the stations. Meet with your people. And I know that's hard. It's tough for me, especially with this COVID emergency, but it's tough, but you have to make that time to do it. Because that's the traditional. The traditional is, I'm not comfortable not knowing things. I need to know things right away. The new tradition, though, is to be a little bit flexible, be adaptable. Think about when they built the canal. How many times did it fail? How many times? Think about it. They took the person that designed the Suez Canal, which was in the desert, same sea level, moving sand, which is easy to move. The same person that designed that, they said, hey, what a success. Let's bring them to Panama. Let them build our canal. With mountains, the difference in the sea level, granite rock. They started and never even took into account the rainy season that you have there. My goodness. Because we took what we knew from here and said it will work here. That's not always the case. And that's something me as a chief, I'm learning as well. We need to be flexible and adaptable. We need to view our organization as part of the big picture. How do I fit into the entire operation? And how does what I do affect the outside of my organization? Citizens, agencies, transportation officials, government. What am I doing that affects it? No one comes into work to do a bad job. No one comes in and says, I'm going to crash the fire truck today. I'm going to lose a patient today. I'm not going to charge the fire hose at the time that I need to charge it. I'm not going to check the level of the petrol in my truck or apparatus. No one comes in to do that intentionally. But do those have very important ramifications and aspects of our, absolutely, if they're not done right. So we want to make sure we appreciate the small things and the large things. I'm going to go to one more slide and then I'll just open up for a quick question if you have it. Learning to ask the right question is better than trying to find the right answer sometimes. Asking the right question, not walking into a station or doing a checkup and saying, how are we doing today? We're doing okay, good. All right, see you later. No. Sometimes it means, what can we do better today that we didn't do yesterday? That simple question will elicit a response. Some people will respond with the right information. Some people will shrug you off. But giving the opportunity to do our job better and get more information is critical. Accept conflict as healthy and also find meaning and pattern even in the clutter. I used to have a problem. My wife would come in and clean my desk and I go, stop, don't do that. I know where each piece of paper is. I called it environmental filing. That's what it was. I know where it is. Now, I asked some of you to do a SWOT analysis. We're not going to do 15 minutes because I sent it to you, but I'm going to open up a little bit to talk about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I don't see any hands up. Who wants to go first? Remember, we're in the circle of trust. I know, Carlos, I'm going to tell you something. I not only study leadership, I study human behavior, and I study body language. And that's why you're going to go first. You know why?
No.
Because you are chomping, you're chomping at the bit. You and Carlos Palos.
Payas.
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 Give me a chance, all right?
Okay, okay.
All right. Let's go Carlos Payas, because you were doing this. Let's hear it.
Opportunities.
Opportunity?
Yes.
Okay. Give me an example.
I am a firefighter, and the ACP gives me an opportunity to operator.
Okay.
I know I have the other firefighters. It's my other partner companies.
Okay.
And I give us to the correct word and listen what happened, whole thing today, and
You're doing fine.
okay, I'm doing fine.
Yeah, you're doing fine. So Carlos is saying that he is presented with an opportunity to become an operator. He's moving from firefighter to operator. And so he knows right now that that's greater responsibility. Now, when he makes that decision, I apologize, his motorcycle's going by. When he makes that decision, not only does he have to take on the responsibility of getting there, making sure that he is qualified, that he studies, and that he learns the new responsibilities. But when he gets there, now his view of the organization changes. So it moves from firefighter to operator. So there become greater responsibilities. It is almost like climbing a hill or climbing a mountain. When you're in the valley, all you can see is what's in the valley. But as you move up and you take on greater responsibility and you prepare, your vision changes. So Carlos may think that I only want to be an operator right now, but when he becomes an operator, now he may see something else and another opportunity that he wants. Very good. Carlos Ayarza. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, you did.
All right. Give me a strength, weakness, opportunity, or threat.
In regards of our organization, you mean?
You can tell me organization or personal. I think we'll wait on the personal because you guys don't trust me.
Okay,
You
fine,
gotta walk a little while.
fine,
Am I right, Oliver?
fine.
Go ahead.
I have a chance. The best opportunity I had was 28 plus years ago.
Okay.
And that was becoming a firefighter.
All right.
Since then, a serial of opportunities, not to be redundant, has come to my life as a professional and as a human being. And in both aspects, they cannot be separated, each one from each other.
Okay.
Right now, I have the opportunity to be a trainer, but I have passed through the operator level and also the fire officer. And it's always a challenge. It is a challenge because you all have to deal with human beings, people that have a different point of view, people that have a different way to do things. And then you have to be flexible. That's a key word in this job, as you mentioned it, especially with you new generations. And it is only possible as you become flexible yourself, as you adapt yourself to the changes, as you prepare yourself as a human being, as a professional, to those specific circumstances along your life. And a lot of things have to be improved, but none of us supposed to be afraid to go up front and commit a mistake, because that's the only way you advance, by committing mistakes and respecting others' mistakes, because from each of those you learn, and then you build up whatever you want to on stronger basis. So opportunities is an everyday gift, as you say, is a gift, and you have the choice to make them become beneficial for you, your organization, your people, or just to keep it for yourself, which I don't think is not fear.
Okay.
It's not fear. But yes, opportunities always, especially in this profession, through this specific episode in the war, I think after we pass this, as fire, we have a lot of things to go through and reinforce. Some others try to modify, especially with new generations, as you mentioned a while ago. That's what I have to say in regards opportunities.
Carlos, I could not have said it better. You are right on point when you talk about opportunities, flexibility, and courage. We're going to end with courage when we get to the end, because we sometimes have a fear of failure. Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, knows 10,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. He failed 10,000 times. But with every failure, he figured out there was something that he was doing wrong and something that he was doing right. And he held on to what was right. Anyone in here ride a bicycle? Did you ever ride a bicycle? I rode a bicycle. All right. Did you just get on the bike and start riding? Oh, no. I can tell you, no. No. Failure. Pain is a great motivator. I don't want that to happen again, so what do I do? But none of us learned to ride a bicycle by ourselves. Watched and we learned. And so what you're talking about, the flexibility, is important. I'll get away from SWAT for a hot second and I'll come back to it. When we talk about change, change is stressful. Change sometimes is painful, but change is necessary. If we did not change, we would still try to move ships through that canal with mule wagons. You have to change. Change is inevitable. You can either be a part of it or it passes you by. When we talk about our relationship in work, labor and management, and I won't stay on it long, but let's think about it. As a manager, I want as much out of the workers as possible, and I don't want it to cost too much. On the labor side, I don't want to do that much, and I want as much as I can for it. And we're both wrong. We are both wrong. If we focus on our responsibilities, our attitudes, and our accountability, what we are actually responsible to do, we all will get along better. So my motto has always been, when I sit down with my union, and my union that I have here is internationally known. They've won Supreme Court cases. And don't think that they don't sit on the other side of the table and remind me, we won in the Supreme Court. And I go, good, you're not in the Supreme Court, you're in my office. What we attempt to do, and it's fun that we go back and forth, and sometimes we're at loggerheads, but I always attempt to make them part of the solution, not part of the problem. Because we both want the same things. We both want our people safe. We want them properly compensated. We want to make sure that we provide the services that we're sworn to protect, we're sworn to deliver. So if our goals are the same, can we not find some common ground? And if we can't find common ground, instead of becoming adversaries, can we agree to disagree, but to move in the right direction? And that takes exactly what you said, Carlito. Flexibility. Flexibility and adaptability. This is
I
a,
don't know. I leave.
hang on a second. We'll find out.
I was in already. I listened to it, but know what? It's telling me about my video is stuck.
I found it. It's Rolando. Gotcha. This is a chart that I did 20 years ago on effective change. Don't worry. You don't need to understand that whole chart. But this is where the SWOT analysis brings us, right here. And most times you see that green, every organization starts right there and then they stop because they fail to do an effective SWOT analysis and they fail to evaluate and identify major issues and risks. What we're doing today, we're taking a very small step in the right direction together. So this is what I found about firefighters and fire officers. These 7 principles. Yes, Sergio.
We are not seeing your slide.
You're not seeing my slide. Da, 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 da. That's because I was going after Rolando. You see it now?
Yeah, now.
All right, thank you. You guys were letting me riff there for a while. Come on. All right, 7 C's of fire officer trust. There they are. These are present in every effective leader, in every organization. I don't care if it's your church, I don't care if it's a business. I don't care if it's a fire department, police department, government. Does not matter. The effectiveness that you have comes from these 7 principles. That's what they are. So if we know that, what's the first principle? The first principle is commitment. It's commitment. Carlos, when you talked about moving from firefighter to operator, you have to make a commitment to do that. And when you make these commitments, you must first commit to yourself to be the best that you can, commit to your family, your organization and agency, the mission and vision, the rules and regulations, and stewardship. We are given a great responsibility as firefighters. As bomberos, we are given a high responsibility that comes with high respect, that comes with high consequences. When we look at a commitment that we have not only to ourselves, we have a commitment to our coworkers to help and keep them safe as well. And then we have a commitment to citizens and people. If we do not take care of any of these first commitments, we cannot move forward in any organization, and we cannot move forward in our personal or professional growth. We have to make sure that our commitments, even if they are not what we want them to be, we need to at least identify what they are and make sure that we identify their status. Go or no go, good or no good. Because even if you get a promotion and your commitment to your family and to the organization and the rules and regulations are not right, you are looking for failure. You are looking for the worst kind of failure because you have no attachment or no commitment. You have no support structure. But if you make sure that your commitments are aligned and solid to the best of your abilities, you have a foundation to work from. Now, there's an identity crisis because, like I said, there are some people who came into this business, it's just a job. Some people came in, it's just a paycheck. Some people came in, it's just something for me to do for now. And there are some people who have made this a lifetime commitment. None of them are wrong. We just have to identify who they are in our organization and make sure that they get what they need. The new generation of firefighters loves their time off. They won't work overtime because they view their time off as the best thing that they can do. Some of us who came into this organization more than 30 years ago, maybe even 20 years ago, we have houses, maybe a side business, family. We are working towards a pension, and we've got massive bills to pay. The new generation, they are saddled maybe sometimes with student loans, but they are not owning houses or property or land. So that structure for them, the benefit of working and paying off these long-term commitments are not their bag, as we used to say in the 60s. It's not their bag. Their bag is to make enough money to take care of the things that they need to do now and to have the time off to enjoy it. What we have done is worked our entire career to get to the point where we can take off and enjoy it. Two different mindsets, working in the same place. Like the elephant, we view it from different directions and we see it from our own internal perspective. We have to take the time to look at it from both of our perspectives. And somewhere in the middle, there are some other folks. So the question is, who are you? What commitment have you made? Or is it just a paycheck? Is it something to do for now? Give me my time off, or I'm going to work as hard as I can and move up and change my view, or I'm going to work as long as I can to get to a point where I take care of my bills and I enjoy my life. And in this call, you have to answer that for yourself. No one knows. Only you know. And as you move up, it'll change. So what are you? What are you in this organization? What are you in your community, your family, your home? And what can you be? What can you become if you want to? Who are the others around you? Do the people that you work with on an irregular basis every day, Do they look at the job or your responsibilities the same way? And the answer is no, they can't. Because again, we all came with our own view. What I'm asking you to do is take the time to have these conversations with each other and build a little bit of trust with each other. The sad thing about trust is in many organizations, people will point at someone else and they will point at a problem rather than trying to solve it or help. They'll point, because if I'm pointing that way, nobody's looking at me. No one is seeing that I have doubts. No one is seeing that I have concerns. I point rather than fix. And what I'm asking you to do, look at the others who are around you and assisting them. How are you perceived by other people? What do your coworkers think of you? I can tell you, you can walk in any firehouse in New Haven right now. Someone is going to say, you know what? I like my chief. That's right. Somebody else is going to say, that chief, can't wait till he's out of here. Oh, I can't stand him. Oh, I wish he'd fall in a hole somewhere. The only fortunate thing that I have is they don't say it when I walk in. That's good. Now, what is your communication style? Are you harsh? Are you a finger pointer? Do you do this? Do you listen? Or do you just push information out and push it down and expect everyone to toe the line? Everyone has a communication style. I've studied and I train people in what's called DISC certification. And DISC is D-I-S-C, but in a nutshell, it is people who are directors and drivers, people who are interactive, who are very sociable, if you will. There are some people that are just steady. I'm here to do what I have to do and go home. And then there are some people who are C, who are very correct, very precise, and very critical. Each of us has a communication style. And there's no one set way of looking at it. Sometimes there are combinations. My combination is that I am a D and an I. I love interacting with people, but when it comes to my job, I'm very, very direct. So I have to rely on that interactive side to soften that D up. Because the D side of me is, I don't want the details, just get it done. That's an order. But my system doesn't work that way. So if my system, my organization doesn't work that way, I have to rely on that other side of me to get the message across. And if I can't do that, then I need to find someone else in my organization, that unofficial leader, that cook, if you will, that other person who can reach my other members of my organization to help me get that message across. Because ultimately, we want to go home tomorrow or tonight safe and better than when we walked in today. So everyone has a communication style. So I always talk about it like this. Do you know what you look like when nobody's around and you hear your favorite song? Guess who that person is? That's the happiest person on here. Right? No merengue? No salsa? No? Ah, Carlos is moving. He's ready. All right. So here's the time that you need to talk about recommitments. Because if you do not have these commitments in place, gentlemen, you're not going to be able to move forward or move forward effectively. And believe me, I had to learn these lessons, some of them the hard way, some of them the very hard way. Relationships that suffer, family members that suffer because of who I was and what I was attempting to do. The second C is competence. Very important. If you want to move through this organization, or if you want to make sure you maintain the position that you have to be competent. You have to study. There's information out there. Think about how much time you spend on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, what else? Snapchat, Tumblr, TikTok. They're all out there. YouTube, how much time do you spend there as opposed to how much time you spend learning your craft and learning your organization. Because when you know your organization cold, when you know it cold, you ask me something, you ask me about high-rise firefighting, how much pressure I need to put in a hand line or supply line, got it. How much foam concentrate I need. What type of flow do I need for a big flow? Got it. Know every aspect of your organization, but most importantly, know what your specific job is and know the jobs around you as well. Learn your policies and procedures as well. And read. See, they say when your competence is low, when your knowledge is low, you need direction. You may not like it, but you need direction if you don't know what you're doing. But when your commitments are low, you need support. So I tell you as leaders at every level, if you see people who are not holding to their commitments, you have to support them. Not challenge or chastise, support them. And everything that I'm telling you today, it took me years to learn. I'm trying to give you the shortcuts. I don't expect you to do this overnight. No one on this call right now better say tomorrow, Chief Vanterpool, Chief Alston said X, Y, and Z, and you're not doing it. It's not what this is about. This is not what this is about. This is about information exchange. I'm going to push some information at you, and we've got enough time for us to talk. But I'm trying to build some confidence and rapport with you right now. The third C is confidence. Once your commitments are identified, and once your competence starts improving, you handle your responsibilities head on. That's what you do. If it lands on my plate, it's mine, and I'm going to address it. Knowing the length and breadth of your authority, knowing what you say and where you say it and how it's said is so important. How many times has someone text you something with one of these? They text you something and you respond immediately. And then you realize that's not what they meant. That never happened to you? Happens to me all the time. All right? You must be special. Knowing the length and breadth of your communications, knowing what is fair, right, and appropriate. When it comes to discipline, many times discipline has one line. If you do this, we get this. If you do this, we get this. But sometimes there are circumstances, and there's a lot of leverage and a lot of broad-based responsibilities that we have in responding to discipline. So I like the discipline approach, what is fair, right, and appropriate. Fair, right, and appropriate. And I know many times we have contractual language, we have rules and responsibilities, and we have policies that are hard set. But we must also tailor that with what is fair, right, and appropriate. And if we follow these C's of confidence, commitment, and we'll eventually get to consistency. When we're consistent, that's when you build trust. You build trust in your organization, in your communities, in your families, and with your work partners. Confidence will occur on its own when you take care of these things. And you will develop what's called command presence. Now, I sent you all a workshop on command presence. Yes? Did everyone get it? That command presence document is something that you keep. You don't have to share that with anyone. What that is a self-assessment. It is a tick box where you do your own score. But each one of those items will be an attribute, a characteristic of a commander, of a leader. So every one of those items, when you score yourself, at the end, it will talk about if you need to improve and how to improve. And there are ways to do that as well. So I'm not going to spend the time on the command presence because that is a self-assessment for you to do. All right. There's the other one I sent you as well was for listening. Now, there are some wonderful books out there. Some of them are very old. If you notice, many successful people follow some of the same patterns. There's a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And Napoleon Hill studied the top 500 richest, most influential people in the world. It took him 20 years to complete the book. He interviewed them and got their stories. It was Henry Ford who built the Ford automobile. It was the Rockefellers. It was all different types of people who were very successful. And what they found is that every one of them, when they had a failure, they kept going. If they failed, they kept going. They learned from it. How many times have you failed at something or became frustrated in trying to get something done and you just stopped? You said, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it later. I'll do it next week. Or it's not the right thing for me right now, and never go back and pick it up again. What he said is every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. In other words, when you fail and there is pain, learn from it. This COVID emergency that we're going through right now, the entire world is gripped by this pandemic. And what we can do is we can wear our masks, we go to work and protect ourselves and wait for this thing to end. But in every emergency like this, there is always an opportunity. There is an opportunity for us to learn how to protect ourselves better. It's an opportunity for us to learn how to protect the world and our communities better. It is an opportunity for us to develop vaccines. It is an opportunity for new businesses. Even though we have the heartache of losing loved ones and losing the people that we work with, and or losing patients that we're trying to resuscitate, and we have this fear of contracting this virus ourselves while we do our work because we are direct contacts with sick people. Even though that's going on, we have to look at it with an opportunistic mind to say, can we do things better? Is there some new equipment out there that we don't know about? Is there a new mask being made that we don't know about, that we're going to find out? Every failure brings with it an equal benefit or an opportunity. What is your confidence level? And we're going to come back to these questions in a hot second. We're going to skip to what you think now. The difference between confidence and power. Well, we're going to get into it. Many times we'll see a person and we will think that that person is powerful because they're confident. But remember the example that I told you? In my old battalion, we had the battalion chief, we had the captain of the station, and in the firehouse, we had the cook. All three people listened, including myself, the four of us, listened to the cook. The cook had the most experience, had been driving the apparatus the longest, knew our neighborhood and our district by buildings, by cross streets, by fixtures, by pump pressures, knew it. Knew how to drive in the snow. Think about it, a new firefighter. I've never driven a 29-ton truck in the snow. Who are you going to listen to? You're going to listen to that cook who's been driving that truck the longest. So everyone has an opportunity to have a certain level of power or confidence, but they are different. Confidence is not power, and power is not confidence. The 5 points of power come this way. This is where power comes from. Your rank or your title, okay? I have a particular rank. That's my authority. It gives me power. It gives me responsibility. It gives me authority over my subordinates. It's one level of power. There's another power that's task or interconnected with accomplishment. I talked about the cook. When it came to driving the apparatus, not only were they a great cook, but they were a seasoned, very experienced, very knowledgeable, very professional apparatus operator. And so that gave, his name was Charlie, gave Charlie a certain amount of power. Then there are people that have personal power. They have the ability to influence others. They have the ability to get the job done by building a core of people who will cooperate with them, or building a team. Everyone can't build a team. Rank does not build a team. Leadership. What do we say? Liderazgo. No? Is it liderazgo? Liderazgo. I got it. Liderazgo. That is what builds the team. I'm getting tired, tongue tied. Then there is relationship power. And we know that happens. It happens in every organization. In other words, we used to say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And there's a certain thing that happens in our organizations as well. We can't deny it, it's there. But then there is knowledge power. Did anyone ever remember the show MASH? You ever look at MASH? Am I that old? I'm old. Yeah, MASH. Who was Radar O'Reilly? The little guy with the glasses, right? Who ran the camp? Radar. Radar ran the camp, absolutely. There is knowledge power. There's power in knowing what you're doing. So, to expand on that, don't buy into the assumed constraint that power and position power, who you are, what you are, is the only kind of power that works. There are 5 different types, and we want to make sure that you know about them. The 4th C is the most important C of all: communication. And when we finish this one for a hot second, I'm actually going to let you get up and stretch for a hot second, because now I'm starting to see this. All right. The 4th C is communication. Communication. That is how we get everything done. The biggest communication problem is not that we listen to understand, is that we listen to reply. Just like while I'm talking right now, someone on the screen right now has something to say, and they're waiting for me to say, are there any questions? So they can jump right in. That happens in our work. It happens in our relationships. When we get home and our families start talking to us, we just got home, and they start because they haven't seen us, and we're going, oh, just give me 5 minutos, just 10, just let me get my jacket off. But we're listening, but we're really not listening. The same thing happens when we walk into work. When we walk into work and somebody presents us with a problem, oh, stop. Or they're talking and we already know the answer. So we're just waiting for them to stop so we can tell them what we know. That's not listening. That's absolutely not listening. And it's not communication. In the fire department, we used to use the telegraph, teletype, telephone, Twitter, IG, TikTok, telefirefighter. We can tell firefighters are better than Wi-Fi. They absolutely are. Not correct, not right, not always the same message, but they're fast. And if you don't know or haven't heard any good rumors, start one. Anybody guilty of that? Yeah, I've done it. At its simplest, communications are a message, sender, receiver, right? No different than picking up a telephone, no different than picking up a radio, pushing a button, talking, listening. Is that really what's going on? Absolutely not. This is what's going on when we have true communications. Looks complicated? Got one better for you. We have interference. Maybe the receiver isn't ready to hear what we have to say. Then there's feedback or no feedback. It's not simple communications anymore. That's really what's going on in our communications. interference? Do we respect the person that's talking? Do we respect the person that we're talking to? Or are we just pushing information and waiting for a response, or sometimes not even waiting for a response? Not even waiting for a response. No wonder we have accidents, injury, missteps, broken equipment, failed responses, going to the wrong address, going to the wrong call, sending the wrong piece of equipment, not sending enough because we fail to listen or have effective communications. That's what's critical. Effective communications, if you think about it, hearing is the physical act of receiving a sound. We got eardrum, sound vibrates. I'm talking into a microphone, I'm talking into a screen. It goes through, you hear me and you're receiving. That is physical. It can be measured. If we put a meter on, the meter would show what level my voice is. If we used electromagnetic meters as well, we could tell how much current is going through that. But is that really effective communication? No. Listening is the interpretation and processing. That's what separates us from everything else on the planet. Because we are able to listen, process, and respond. That's effective communication. And there is a difference. Ask anybody who's got a spouse. We must be just as good a listener as we are a communicator. In other words, seek to hear before you are heard. Now, there's another exercise that I gave you. It's whether you are a good listener. I hope you're honest that, again, that is just a self-assessment. You don't share it with anyone. It is for you to answer honestly with yourself to determine if you're a good listener. And if you're not, then use that sheet to help you become a better listener. Listening takes practice. It takes practice. It's painful sometimes, but it takes practice. This is a fact. Everyone communicates. Every day we communicate. But do we make a connection? And if we're not making a connection, why? Is it our tone? Is it my voice? Is it my eye contact? In other words, I'll pick on you again. If I say, Carlos, do you know what I mean? Or I say, Carlos, do you know what I mean? Carlos, you know what I mean? Carlos, you know what I mean. Carlos, you know what I mean.
We shall the Carlos.
There's a difference. And sometimes we may not be controlling our tone because something else happened. Something happened at home. Something happened on the road on the way to work. I slammed my hand in the desk drawer or the locker, and now I have to talk to Carlos. Am I taking the time to make sure that I connect and not just try to communicate? With that, we're going to pause for a hot second. I'm going to give you an opportunity to stretch because I see your faces. So we talked about effective communication, right? And we talked about how it is you have to make a connection. We talk about the fifth C. This is important as well. And it is very much overlooked because you won't find it in a fire book.
All right.
You won't find it. It's courtesy.
A courtesy.
Courtesy. Yeah. My mother, mi madre, I lost her when she was 48 years old. I was only 20 years old. But she had 4 rules, 4. And she said, if you learn them, you'll go anywhere in the world. And she was right. She was absolutely right. Keep your hands to yourself. Sounds simple, right? How many times have we had fights in the firehouse? Or people putting their hands on things that don't belong to them? Share what you have. Share it with anyone. Because you never know. They may need to share something with you one day. If you don't have anything nice to say about someone, don't say anything at all. But remember when we talked about communicating, I said, you know what? I used to start rumors. I'm sorry. I started rumors, but they don't work. If you don't have anything nice to say about someone, don't say anything at all. And the last thing, if you have the ability to help someone, anyone, you help them and expect nothing in return. I don't help you to get something. I don't help you expecting that you're going to help me down the road. I help you because you need help and I want nothing from you. When you're able to do that, you can go anywhere. Now, I noticed that there are a bunch of men on here. You have no women working there currently, correct? Well, one day women are going to enter your workforce. It may not be today. It may not be next year. It may not be 10 years from now, but you are going to have women in your workplace. We also know in the workplace, we should never talk about politics, religion, sexual orientation, race, or ethnicity, right? Right?
Right.
Walk into any firehouse kitchen in 5 minutes. What are we talking about? Politics, race, sex, and religion.
That's right.
5 minutes.
Less than that.
Are you PC? What is PC? Are you PC? I see some smiles. I see some smiles. Are you PC? Where did we go wrong? Where did we go wrong? If PC means politically correct, that we don't talk about sex, religion, and race, why do we do it? Because we're human. And we are looking for connections. We're looking for connections. Hang on, let me stop the share. Oliver has a question. Where are you, Oliver? Yes, Oliver, go ahead.
Life,
Oliver.
half of our life on a station rather than at home or at any other place. Why not talk about those topics based on your experience?
Because remember, with your last word, you said experience. My experience may not be your experience. I told you, I'm a man of faith. I'm a man of faith. When I wear my uniform, I represent the city of New Haven. Before the uniform, I represent the city of Jersey City. Everyone in that city and everyone that wears this uniform may not be a person of faith. They may have very personal, very real issues with being people of faith. Believe it or not, there was a time in my life I was very angry, very angry. And so if you talk to me about religion, I would give you a signal, not this finger, but I'd give you a signal to let you know what I thought about it. But I grew and matured and my life changed. Everyone is at a different point in their life. Now, politics, when you start talking about politics, and I live in the United States, we are very divided when it comes to politics, more so than we've ever been in my entire life. So why would I raise that conversation in the workplace with someone else who feels another way? It will either do two things: make a person uncomfortable and they will avoid us, or it will create confrontation. So
The reason of my question is based on what you said before.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to people and you learn from people.
Mm-hmm.
So you may not know something about politics that this person handles better than you do.
Mhm.
And by speaking, by having a conversation among coworkers, if the person is willing to speak about the topic of politics, religion, or whatever,
Mhm.
you can get to learn things that you didn't know.
Okay. I'll take that with a grain of salt. But does everyone know how to
I like that one with the grain of salt.
the grain of salt?
It's a new one.
Does everyone know how to do that in a courteous manner?
No, they don't. They don't.
Not at all. What do we say sometimes? Look, we get into arguments about our sports team, football. Why are you wearing that hat? Why are you wearing that shirt? That happens in the firehouses, in our stations. It happens in our homes. And so we as leaders, have to listen more than we attempt to communicate. Because if we listen, we can learn just as much about a person as opposed to asking a question. We can listen to their conversation with someone else to understand where they're coming from. Listening is the key for us.
One thing I wanted to ask you, excuse me.
Go ahead.
One thing I wanted to ask you a while ago, but you started the presentation, is what do you think about the role of legacy in the fire service? Good legacy, of course.
Legacy has its place. Again, like I said, my son, I never thought he was going to be a firefighter. He became a firefighter. I'm happy about it, but I never pushed them into it, because when I was running a training academy, I actually had a firefighter's son who didn't want to be a firefighter, but the family pressure to make him a firefighter, this young man was having several issues in the academy. And one of the hardest things I had to do was help him tell his father that he didn't want the job, because his father says, you know, we fought hard for this job. You know, we have firefighters in our family. He just doesn't know what he's doing right now. He doesn't know what he wants to do. No. I can see it. And when the young man said, "Can you help me tell my father?" I can't tell my father I don't want to do this. Legacy has its place, but in as much as we are just like our fathers, many times we are very different than our fathers. Legacy does not guarantee a professional firefighter. It's an opportunity because there's exposure. There is orientation, if you will, orientation. They learn a lot from us. I'm amazed. My son learns stuff from me, even though he's still in New Jersey and I'm in Connecticut. He learns a lot. We talk about the job, but I never thought he would become a firefighter. Never did. But I am saying in certain instances, it goes very well because it has its place. It has assimilation tied to it, because the person has some preconceived information, but also that can be a hindrance when it comes to diversity as well. Getting new thought and people that want to come in. So there's a balance. There's a balance. I say when it's done appropriately, it is one of the greatest things. But I also have seen the other side where the person did not want to be there. I saw another side. One of the hardest letters I had to write was a person who wanted to be a firefighter so much, had firefighters in their family, but they were afraid of heights and they were claustrophobic.
Oh, man.
Oh, man is right. And that was one of the hardest letters I had to write from the academy, explaining why I had to remove this young man from the academy. And I mean, his family challenged me. Blah, 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 blah. Watch him. Okay, put up a 14-foot ladder and watch. See if he'll climb to that window. Could not transition from a 14-foot ladder into a window, and vice versa. That was a legacy. I could not put that person there. So I do say that it has its place, it has its value, but it's on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you very much, John.
No, my pleasure. It was a good question. Anything else? Going once. Don't worry, you got me for another 20 some odd minutes. I know you're getting hungry. I can see it. Look at it. Look at it. I see. Once he's hungry. Walt's hungry. Abel's hungry. Raul's hungry. Victor can hang out a little while. Jose Garcia, you can hang out for a little while. Rolando's not going to give me anything, but I know you're hungry because you got cheeks like me. You're hungry. You're hungry. All right. No worries. Let's get back into the mix here. So rather than be PC for being politically correct, this goes right to the heart of the matter, Oliver. Let's be professional and courteous. Let's change the PC to being professional and courteous. If we do that with courtesy, if we do that with professionalism, we build trust and we build respect with our members. And isn't that really how we get things done? We don't show up in an emergency and everybody does what they want to do. No, we have to respond as a cohesive unit, all focused on the mission and supporting each other to get the job done. That's what's critical for us. That's what's critical for us. We want to be professional and we want to be courteous. Courtesy is hardly ever addressed in any of our classes. Think about it. You went through firefighter 1, firefighter 2. You went through all of these different department levels. You got different assignments. When did anybody say, okay, I'm going to talk to you about being nice? Never. Never. Is it the technology? Are we so tied to these things that we are so used to sending a message back and forth, and when we don't get an answer, how many times you put something on Facebook and you didn't get a like, and you keep going to the screen to see if you get a like. You put something up, you thought it was gorgeous, fantastic. You're like, this is great. And nobody liked it. I'll look again. Nobody liked it. This is beautiful. This is great. This is funny. Nobody liked it. I got a secret for you. Facebook, the organization Facebook, they have software that will hold the like button. It holds it. You might have posted something, Oliver. I thought it was funny and I liked it, but you will not see that I liked it for 5, 10, 15 minutes. What they're doing is they're getting you to keep checking. And the more you click, when you click, they start pushing advertising towards you on the thing that you like. Have you noticed how the ads pop up? And then all of a sudden you start to see all your friends that like it. It is a commercial ploy. So the technology is training us to keep checking for a response. Not unlike, do you have casinos in Panama? I don't know. Do you have casinos in Panama? Casinos.
Yes.
A lot of them.
Yes. So it's not unlike the machine. Checking, 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 checking. So the technology is training us to get immediate responses. Is it social media? Do we as professionals have a worldview? Do you know what's going on outside of Panama? Do you understand how it affects you, not only in commercial, but also in the fire service?
Yes.
Yes, it's important. Courtesy sometimes is seen as old and weak. If I apologize for something, I'm weak. If I said something that offended you, rather than say, I'm sorry, I apologize, that wasn't my intent, we go, that Omar, he's real sensitive. I got to remember that. Put that in the back of my head. I may be able to use that one day. Oh, he got mad? That's good. I'll remember that. Is that how we operate? Is it? Something to think about. So the stages of changes is the fire service has been, and in some places still is, racist, sexist, homophobic, and xenophobic. And xenophobic has to do with my race is better than any other race. Does that sound familiar? Because I can tell you, even though I have this color skin, there are different nationalities that have this color skin. And I may think about them the way they think differently about me, and they may think differently about me. I have been so fortunate and blessed. I've taught in Africa, doing missionary work, in South Africa, in Mexico City. I've been able to teach all over the world, in the Caribbean, all over the world. And I see people for who they are and what they are. I've been fortunate to be able to see past this. But there are people in our profession who can't. I hope you're not one of those people. You're in for a rough ride because there's more of us than there are you. We used to be lewd, crude, and obnoxious. Oh, I'm a firefighter. Yeah. I got this. Firefighter. But not realizing that that may be something that pushed people away, that made it difficult for us to communicate with people. We have now used the term, I'm a fireman. We'd say now I'm a firefighter. We don't say manpower anymore. We say crew, staffing, and personnel, even though there's still departments that say, I need your manpower sheet. And they've got 50 women working there. The fire service used to be self-absorbed, self-centered, self-interested, and almost narcissistic because we're the best at what we do. Think about it. We fight fires. We fight fires. That is a tremendous honor, responsibility. And you know what? If you look good doing it, the ladies love it. They love it. What not? I'm just saying what I heard. Don't hold it against me. I've heard. You know what? I got this job for the car and to find somebody to love me. Oh, really? Okay. Have that conversation crawling down a burning building with that fire hose. Let me know how much love you get there, okay? So what else do we have? I had to come to the realization that I was one of those people. When I responded to 9/11, there was a certain amount of people who didn't look like me that I hated. I had hate in my heart. I lost a lot of friends. I've taught at the New York Fire Department Academy. I had to listen to the radio that day. I had to respond several hours after the plane hit. That was very painful for me. And so, yeah, race played a part in some of my decisions. I wore some of those stupid T-shirts that said some horrible things. I was guilty. But what we said as firefighters and what we evolved to, I had to learn to change. And it took a long time to change. You can't turn a big ship on a dime. But we said when we became firefighters that we would trade our time for their time, the people that we serve. We said we would trade our comfort for their comfort. We even said we will trade our emergencies for their emergencies. So while we're handling someone else's emergencies, if there's an emergency at our home, someone else has to handle it, or we need to trust the people who can handle it because we're handling someone else's emergencies. And yes, my friends, we even said this, that we would trade our life for another life. That is a great responsibility. And so it bothers us sometimes when people don't take it seriously. It bothers us. But isn't that what we signed up for? Isn't that what we said we were going to do? Kind words can mean the difference in a person's life. Kind words can be short and easy, but they can last forever. Courtesy costs you nothing. It costs you absolutely nothing. But the benefits that you can get from it are tremendous. So the 6th C is being consistent. Go back to that. Which picture are you in? Are you in the top? Or are you in the bottom? What's the difference between a boss and a leader? It's right there on the screen. We all have routines, rituals. We all do things a certain way. That's how we are. When you put on your shoes today, did you put on the right first or the left first? When you put on your shirt today, did you put in your right arm first or your left arm first? When you put on your pantalones today, did you use your left foot or your right foot today? You do the same thing every day. Try it. The next time you get dressed, think about it. Go in reverse and let me know how that works out for you. We all have habits. We all have rituals. Some of them are part of our culture. Some of them part of our training. Some of them are part of our knowledge, but we all have them. We're creatures of habit. But we are only born with two fears. When you are born, there are only two fears that you have. The fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. Every other fear you learn. It could be nature, it could be nurture, it could be your environment, it could be your training. Every fear, your experiences, every other fear after that, you learn. And if you can learn it, you can unlearn it. Just takes time and commitment. That's all it takes. We have to change our habits and learn new things to become effective leaders. You even have to learn how to read all over again. There's a way to do that. Consistency is the changes that we make when we become firefighters to fire officers. And guess what? Firefighters have long memories. If you didn't wear your uniform right, if you didn't wear your PPE right, if you didn't like the rules and never followed them, firefighters have long memories. Me, I used to be the prankster. I used to love to play jokes and gags on people. Guess what? When I became an officer, I had to put those things down. What did it say? When I was a child, I thought as a child. I spoke as a child. I did childish things. But when I became a man, I had to put childish things away.
Oh.
Be honest about becoming an officer. Be honest about these opportunities that you told me about. Are you doing it just to get the money? Are you doing it so that no one else can tell you what to do? Are you doing it because you want to improve and make your job better and protect your friends, property, and the citizens that you're sworn to protect? Be honest. Rank alone does not equal respect. It never has, and it never will. Some of you are starting a professional journey, and some of you are towards the end. You have a lot of experience that you need to share. I want you to get a journal if you can and start jotting things down from time to time. That's what I've done my entire career. I've actually published 2 books. I'm about to publish 2 others as soon as this COVID emergency is over. Not to tell the world what I think, it's to share experiences, to help people move to the next level. That's what I'm looking to do. The 7th C, finally, is courage. Michael Jordan said, I can accept failure, but I can't accept not trying. That's important. Because as we said earlier, failure will keep you from moving to the next level. At the end of this thing, I have some lessons on Kaizen, but I've actually shrunk it down to really this. Making small incremental changes, each day deciding to do something different or better. Because anything you do for 2 weeks becomes a habit. I don't care what it is. Good or bad, anything you do for 2 weeks or longer becomes a habit. So if I want to start dieting, which I'm not going to do today, if I'm going to start a diet, I need to start today and keep it up for 2 weeks, because then I'll see the benefit. My entire fuel system will change. My outlook, how I see food and prepare it, will change. But it all takes a decision and not being afraid to make that decision. Small incremental changes for the better. The 7th C is courage. Change the things that you can. Accept and work with the things that you can't change. Have the courage to try. Have courage to try. That's what it takes. In fact, lose your fear of failure. Accept it. You're going to fail when you try things. In fact, anyone who has not faced failure has not tried anything important or significant in their life. It is only when you try and you fail and succeed, or move past your failure or learn from it, makes you a successful and a professional and well-trusted firefighter or fire officer. That's what makes the difference. That's the person that you want to go into that burning building with. That's the person that you want to go into that ship cargo hold with. The person who failed before, learned from their mistakes, has the experience and knowledge, and effectively communicates with you that you can get this done. That's where your confidence level comes from. These 7 C's are important because each of them are the building blocks of trust and professionalism. We already told you about Thomas Edison not knowing how to make a light bulb, but he knows now. Be strong enough to stand alone, smart enough to know when you need help, and brave enough to ask for it. Everyone needs help, everyone. And in our business, the only way we get things done is through the help of others. When we start to look at benchmarks that we set for ourselves to make sure that we are utilizing our courage and our competence, we want to make sure that we use benchmarks. And benchmarks are the ways that we can say, I'm moving from firefighter to operator. I'm moving from operator to station chief. I'm moving to division chief. I'm moving to EMT, paramedic. I'm moving to hazmat tech. Each one of these, we need to set a benchmark so that we have a goal in mind. And when we do that, we will actually burn up the years, if you pardon the pun. The years will fly by. I attained 35 years in this business this year and never thought I would. I was going to do my 25 and gone. But one of my mentors said something great. What he said was, if you're going to do 25 years, are you going to do the same thing each year 25 times? Or are you going to experience the fire service by doing something different in this industry every year for 25 years? And when I looked at it that way, what could I do differently each year? The experience increased, the respect of my peers increased, my knowledge base increased, my rank increased, and ladies and gentlemen, that increased too. My wallet. And so I've gotten to the point in my life where I want to give back. So I teach these courses all over the place. And when I do get paid for them, I take that exact money and I provide training for someone else. I don't make a dime from any of the training because I want to make sure that I share the information that I have to make our profession better. That's what it's really about. And if we keep ourselves focused on the common goals, we will get from here to there. So I'm not going to go into the Kaizen theory because that's another 15 to 20 minutes, but just understand the Kaizen theory is to identify problems, come up with a solution, come up with a plan, implement the plan, and try to eliminate errors as you move forward. In other words, you start out, like I said, when we began, making small incremental changes for the better, like turning a ship before it comes into the canal. With that, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. We're going to open it up. And if anyone's got questions or comments, I am willing to listen. We didn't hear anything from Oliver. We're going to come to you. Go for it. You're very low, Oliver. Is that me?
Yeah, remember you have 2 Olivers in the group, Oliver Beckles and Oliver Bruce.
Oliver Bruce.
Oliver Bruce, yes. Now, I would like to talk about weakness. Weakness a little.
Talk about.
Just a minute.
Okay. Where's he going?
Follow it all the way up. Now you got me?
That's better, but go ahead.
That's better. Okay. I need to talk about the structure on the weakness about disciplinary action. An officer, we say that we use the standard operation, we use the command, but usually sometimes we don't want to use the discipline action because of this is my friend,
Mhm.
but he is a cook.
Mhm.
You get me?
I got you. That's solid. Excellent question. So if I'm repeating what you said, is that when it comes to discipline, there are many times that it's not applied evenly or fairly because it may be that it's my friend or they may be that influential member. And so what I'd like to talk to you about real quick in discipline, there are 3 reasons why people don't do what they're supposed to do. 3 reasons. Now you can get your pens out. Aha, you thought you were just going to sit there. The reasons are they are unwilling, unable, and unaware. I'll put it in the, let's see, I'll put it in the chat real quick. Let's see. There are 3 reasons why people don't do things the right way. Unwilling, unable,
Unaware.
unaware. When they're unwilling, unable, unaware, that's when discipline should come in, but there's a step before that. The step before that is information and education. What we do, and that's why the discipline process always starts with a verbal warning. What we normally try to do is we do what's called a coach and counsel. Because we really don't want to see anybody get in trouble. We started this whole conversation by saying no one comes to work to do a bad thing. Bad things happen, yes, but no one comes to work to do a bad thing. So why do they do it? They're unwilling, unable, unaware. Maybe they knew the rule but didn't follow the rule. Maybe they didn't realize they were breaking the rule and it would affect someone else. Maybe they thought no one would catch them. And they got away with it and it happened anyway. Maybe they're unaware of the consequences that are caused by it. So the first thing we have to do is talk to them. Hey, Omar, can I talk to you for a hot second? This is what happened. I apologize, but this is where we need to talk because what you just did not only broke the rules, but it affects how we do business. And then what ends up happening is we're able to tell someone our information. We give them information. And we actually give them a little bit of a warning. We say, hey, look, in the future, if this happens again, I'm going to have to give you a letter or some type of warning because we can't have this happen again. But then there are sometimes some things are so egregious, so dangerous, have such a high impact on our organization, they have to be documented. Because when we really do something bad in our organization, 3 other things happen. They could lead to personal injury. They could lead to civil liability. We could be sued, or organizational embarrassment. In other words, I can't believe that fire company did that. And then you lose the public trust and the people that pay us. Or we lead to civil liability because of personal injury or slander and other laws that get broken. So there are some things that are within our control, within our purview, that we have a range of responses that, like you said, if I'm dealing with the cook who's my friend, I have to deal with my cook and friend the same way I deal with everyone else. Because if I deal with Benjamin, who's my friend, but Sergio is not my friend, and I have to discipline Sergio and everyone else, Carlos, Joseph, Angel, everyone else sees what's going on and says, wait a minute, I don't have to listen to Oliver anymore because he only takes care of his friends. And so you lose face, you lose trust. So you can't treat people differently because of your relationship with them. You treat them differently based on the scale of the offense. Remember, we said what is fair, right, and appropriate. However, there are certain infractions, certain actions that are so egregious, we have to address them because they lead to personal injury, civil liability, organizational embarrassment. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Fantastic. Anyone else? Angel.
I have a question towards what you said earlier
Okay.
about why people become firefighters, right? There's this individual, and this is a hypothetical, right? How you will handle this? An individual who came in for the money, right? But they never, how could I say, fall in love with this job,
Okay.
right? I can confess, I came for the money, right?
Okay.
I'm 32 years now as a firefighter. Obviously, I fall in love with it. So how would you address this situation of someone who came in here, who never really took the time to learn this job or see it as his career, but they're still here, right? How would you handle that?
That's a great question. So the best thing that I can do is find out what their interests are. Their interests are, I'm just here for the money. This is just a means to an end. I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do something else. Fine. Well, you still are part of a team. You still have an assignment and you still have a responsibility to perform. And the way that you keep making money is to do the job professionally, to do it appropriately, and to make sure that you operate within the guidelines of this organization, because if you don't, you could lose this. It could be that this person over and over again keeps making the same mistakes. That's when we start to talk about progressive discipline. So you've coached and counseled this person. You found out that they're just in it for the money. Hey, Alex, I understand you're just here for the money, but you have a great responsibility to protect your own life and the life of others. And so just focusing on the money isn't going to get you through the day. We need to make sure that you are alert, you're focused, and that you're doing everything that you can to support this team and to support this organization. If this happens again, we're going to document it. If it happens again, we're going to move into progressive discipline, which could cause you to lost time, lost wages, or possible termination. So if the person is just in it for the job and they don't conform to the roles and responsibilities and the rules, it is your responsibility to get them out of that uniform. And that begins with documentation. But remember I said, let's try listening first. Try listening first.
Documentation.
Documentation is critical. I've been up here 3 years. I just put out another memo about documentation because we changed the software system where they have to push the button. Dispatch doesn't push the button anymore. So I had to put out a memo. Make sure you push the button. It's documentation. And the bottom line of that memo that says the first time that you miss hitting the button, you're going to get a letter from me. There's no more. We gave you 3 months to start pushing the button. So now this memo says we've gone through the testing period. Remember, unable, unwilling, unaware. I'm making them aware, and you're able to do it. So now we're through the testing period. From now on, effective immediately, anyone that does not hit the button, you get a warning letter.
It's acting unwillingly.
Exactly. You don't get it, you don't do it again, it will lead to progressive discipline. Because no one wants to come in and do a bad job, and no one wants to come in and be a disciplinarian, but we use discipline as an education tool to get someone's attention, to let them know that this is serious, not as punishment, but a progressive way to say, if you are not going to conform to the rules of this organization, then we need to identify that and get you out. And the unions should support that. Why would we want anyone working side by side with our folks that are a danger to themselves and to others? Remember I said we both want the same thing. We both want the same thing. We look at it differently, but we still want the same thing. Now, we have come to the top of the hour where we started. It is exactly 2 hours. I do not have a problem staying, but I will not hold anyone because I am a man of my word. What I am going to tell you is I have enjoyed you guys immensely. And you can always find me. I'm on the net, you Google or whatever. And we'll probably talk about doing some more training in the future. You gave me a lot of information. those sheets that you have, the SWOT analysis sheets, you can share with me. If not, you don't want to, it's fine. I gave you the self-assessment sheets. That's to help you improve your command presence and also hearing. But I also, listening, I'm sorry, but I also want you to think about it. I want to thank you today because you were very patient and you took the time. There is a pandemic that's going on. At any time, we can hear that bell and we have to respond. So I thank God that that did not happen with you or me, that we were able to share this amount of information with each other. And of course, Raul, I'm going to get you the next time. You better be asking some questions. But if you want to stick around and ask some more questions, I am more than willing to do that. I set aside an entire day to do this with you.
Hey, John, what I meant by legacy a while ago, and you gave me a good explanation, but what I meant is what you spoke about about the books that you wrote and the experiences that you're willing to leave for others, to not to say, oh, to do things, but to have that knowledge in the knowledge bank, to say something, and to be able to, I guess, recognize situations and maybe apply those experiences that you noted in those books. That's what I meant about legacy.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll tell you why I went up the other way with it. There are departments now that are giving points. It was just on the phone not too long ago, the Chicago Fire Department. When they hire and recruit, they give legacy points. So I apologize for misinterpreting your question or query. So in terms of legacy, we actually find that when I talked about journaling, remember I said that you have experiences that you need to jot down that you can provide either in the training where Carlos is, where you share your experiences. There's several books out. I wrote in one of them, there's something called a Pass It On book. It used to be like a little book we kept in there that, you know, if the hand light or radio was missing, you didn't want to call the chief and tell him, hey, we're missing a flashlight. You would write it and leave it on the blotter or clip it to the lamp, and you would pass that information on. It's called the Pass It On process. Well, this is no different. What I'm doing with you right now is passing on experiences that I had. I'm writing a bunch of stuff that we're putting online because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, every person in this call is a leader, and that everything rises and falls on leadership. You cannot do this job without it. And every person, no matter where you are in the organization, is a leader. And with that comes responsibility and accountability. You are responsible for your actions. You're responsible for your actions. I see you clapping, Joseph. I see you. Delano, you didn't say much today. What are you doing over there? Wake up. I used to teach public schools. I watch everybody. Carlos Gomez, I'm watching you too. Eduardo, Abando, I'm watching you. Jose Garcia, I'm watching you. Yeah. I'm here. If you got to go, get out. Go find food, but I will be here. If you want to talk, I'm here. Yep. That Walt? It's Walt. Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And welcome to Panama. I have a question for you. It will be in regards of your experience.
Mm-hmm.
How you guys do about when you're going about your needs, your necessity, fire stations, more personal to be exact.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we have a situation. I work in the Atlantic side of the canal where we have great responsibility, but we are understaffed. We only have 2 fire stations.
Mm-hmm.
Where we have in a tour of duty in a 24 hours, we will have maximum 12 firefighters working.
Mm-hmm.
We have 2 fire trucks and an ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment we respond, we are out of service, to say so. Mm-hmm. So what we have implemented is we have a fire truck that will pull out of the southern district, the other side, 80 kilometers the distance, and it will take them roughly 45 minutes to an hour to reach the our district to or cover or give us an aid. So we are right now in that time where the canal was built, the new set of locks was built, and we stayed understaffed, to say. We stayed. So in your experience out at Connecticut or New Jersey or New York, how you guys deal with those situations, going to management and saying, hey, I have this situation. We have done that already. We have tried through the union and we have had meeting. The chief himself, he's aware of it, but you know, he's limited also. He don't have that decision making in his hand. We would like to hear from you. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you asked an excellent question. Believe it or not, sometime today, when I get off, I'll be working with our Office of Management and Budget. We submitted the mayor's budget a couple of months ago, and when we submit it, it's what we ask for, and then we have a board of alders or council people who tell us what we're going to get. And so on this side, when we did our asking, we made sure that we put in the numbers that were appropriate, that we thought were right. And when we were given to them, and we did an exercise of reducing 10%, which you really can't do in any organization like ours. Anytime you take, it's a test question. Anytime you have to reduce by 10%, it's layoffs, it's bodies and people and apparatus and stations. That's what it is. So 10% was out of the question. So then they asked for 6%, 3%. So we gave them our best estimates on how we can move forward. I got an email yesterday that they want me to cut my budget another $900,000. Okay. And so I know that means closing firehouses and laying off. But I have to make the case to them is that if this is what you want, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 30 council people, each of them with their own district, who are saying, you have to cut, you have to cut. My answer to them is, okay, which one of you wants a cut in your district? Which one? Because I got to cut one. Which one is it? I use that as an example because anytime you are understaffed, anytime that you begin to reduce your response capabilities, you and I know that increases the likelihood of injury and death, both for firefighters and for our civilians who we respond to. It also increases property loss. So if you want to pay us on this side of the equation, you can pay on this side of the equation. But if you're not willing to make the investment on this side of the equation, on the other side of the equation, we can tell you longer travel time to an emergency, longer times to apply water, an increased time in coordinated attack and ventilation makes it more difficult for us to protect lives and property. So there's increased property loss, and it makes it dangerous for firefighters. And unfortunately, you have to keep making that case because there are people who are going to sign that checkbook. And unfortunately, sometimes those people do not see the impact of their decisions. It is our job to keep it in front of them all the time. That's all we can do, is to be advocates. But if we have a strong reputation, many times they will listen to us. But if you have firefighters having parties in firehouses or out in front of the fire stations washing their cars and playing music, and the people that sign that check right by and go, I'm not paying for that. I always tell people, you are paying for what we are prepared to do. What we are prepared to do. Think about the most expensive house. The most expensive house. Most expensive house has a smoke alarm or smoke detector system in it. What is the cost of that system compared to every other system in the house? Air conditioning, plumbing, electricity. The cost is minimal. But how effective is it when you need it? How life-saving is it when you need it? So the cost that you spend for an overall budget for the Panama Canal, look at the fraction of the cost you pay for public safety, life safety, and protection. And that's how you have to couch that conversation. Does it always work? No. Yeah. But we have to be prepared to make the case for ourselves. Hope that answers it for you. Because I'm fighting that fight right now.
Okay, appreciate that, Chief.
No worries.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
You know, hey, hope seeing you soon in person. Okay.
Looking forward to it, my man.
All right, good to go.
No rum. No rum. I'm kidding. Anyone else? Delano. Go ahead, my man.
Yes, Chief Alston. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, you mentioned about promoting procedures. You implemented that also.
Mhm.
Okay, what are your main criteria to promote someone? Is it based on something specific, university knowledge, or you have more strengths on the job years experience? What is your criteria for promotion?
So
at all levels, especially managerial leadership level.
So it is a great question. It's a combination of things. So because I work in a union shop, I have a local IAFF I negotiate with. When I first got here, I presented them with a syllabus. In other words, I wanted to give them every book necessary for every rank, because remember the competence. We have to make sure that there's a knowledge base there. But I have to negotiate with them how the test is weighted. So 65% of it is assessment, your knowledge and performance, and 35% is based on your seniority. That was negotiated. Other departments are different. Some departments are 80%, 20%, 70%, 30%. Some of them 100% assessment. The assessment style testing is the best possible way to determine how a person is going to perform in a real situation. Now, you will say some people, oh, the book knowledge is what it is. Remember we said we have the people who have all of the book knowledge, but then we have the cook who has the most experience. How do you blend between those two? Well, what you do is you develop an assessment test. Now, some departments will give more credit for university and other certifications or specific certifications like engineer, hazmat, and the like. Others will give credit if you've taken fire officer 1, 2, 3, 4 and have those certifications. I have found that certifications have their place, knowledge base has its place, but an assessment center where you are presented with a hypothetical. And as you move up, it moves from scene management and response management to station management, to district management, to division and level management, to upper management in finance, operations, and administration. Each one of them can have their own test. But generally, when you're looking for chief officers, there are 4 areas that we look for. We look for you to have supervisory experience. We look for you to have administrative experience. We want you to have firefighting experience, fire supervision experience, and then non-fire experience. Non-fire could be transportation. It could be hazmat or technical. Then the fire situations could be based on the scale or the level of your rank that you're testing for. It could be a private to a multi-dwelling, to a mall, a rail station, a high-rise, a sports stadium with people in it, all types of different levels based on the rank that you're seeking. Then the administrative side is, can you review a program or a policy that is either right or wrong and develop a new one? And then it becomes the supervisory questions that we talked about earlier. How do you discipline people? And that goes to your effective communication, analyzing, the ability to analyze a problem and be able to come up with the proper solution. And I can say this without fear of contradiction. There are 3 mentors that I've had in this business. One of them had a PhD and the other one had a GED. And I would follow either one of them based on what the experience and the level of knowledge that they brought and shared with me. So I can hang with academics and I can hang with people who barely got out of secondary school.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else with their hand up?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can. Carlos Gomez.
Thanks for your time, for give us your knowledge. I have a question for you.
Sure.
You told us you know our history. You, in other words, you know who we are, no?
I have an idea.
A lot of idea.
Uh-huh.
Okay. My question is, how do you think, or is our main strength to show the world who we are? Sorry for my English. I am learning.
English is perfect.
Still.
Yep, perfecto. Your question is so important, and it is wonderful. Can you see what I see? Can you see all the boxes with all the pictures? Can you see everyone's faces? Okay. If you could see what I see people of different ages, ethnicity, rank, experience, but we all want to know the same thing. We all want to be unified by the same thing. We all want to look good, and not only know, I'll put it this way, we not only want to know what we know and be the best at what we can be in doing it, but let's face it, gentlemen, we want to look good doing it. We want to look good doing it. There's a difference. It's one way if I shine my car up. If I shine my car up and everyone says, wow, that's a wonderful car. What kind of car is it? I don't know. It's just a beautiful car. But if I know how the engine, the transmission works, what the interior looks like, what it took for that car to be built, how it travels, how powerful it is, what a luxury it is, now I appreciate it. But now when I shine that car, I have pride. And I say, ask me anything about my car. Ask me, ask me, ask me. You want to know how much pressure air is in the tires? I'll tell you. You want to know the cubic foot of the engine? Do you want to know the horsepower? In fact, I can't shut up about my car. That's how you want to be about your organization. That's how you are. And you are so close to getting there. I can see it. I read body language. That's what I do. There are only 4 universal languages. 4. Money. Okay. Money talks. Numbers. Every society has numbers. Music. Good or bad. I don't have to know the words, but I can feel the rhythm. Music. Or I can't feel the rhythm. Sorry. Music. And the language of love. The language of love. And that's nonverbal. I don't have to tell you I like you. You can see it. Have you ever walked in a room and knew that they were happy to see you, or they just shut up and stop talking? Wait till you become a chief. You'll find out real quick. You'll find out real easy. Become an officer. Because we didn't talk about that piece. Let's just say, Carlos, your question is valuable. How should we look? How should we be? How do you see us? I see you as a unified body looking for small changes to make yourselves be more proficient and more professional. And I'm willing to help you get there. But guess what? There are going to be some people in your organization who don't want to see that, who like things exactly the way they are. Why are you trying to change anything? In fact, they will fight you because they don't want to change. What you have to do is align yourself and identify the people who are willing to not only change, but help each other change. And that's how you change an organization. Like I said, this job I have right now, they can fire me tomorrow. They will never go back to recruiting the way they did. I recruited a whole lot of people who've probably never been in the fire service before, if you know what I mean. And guess what? They'll never be able to change that back. Everyone should have access to this job, everyone. And so back to the promotion question, I provided them with a syllabus. So every firefighter at every level has a list of books they need to know. But I didn't stop there. When it came to the academy, we built this technical rescue unit, Special Operations Command. And someone says, oh, if you do that, only a certain number of firefighters with a certain complexion will get into that. Well, it's a long plan. If they're the ones that have the certification now, they're the ones that are going to work it. But how do you fix that? What you do is you take the technical rescue program and put it in the academy. So when you hire people, they automatically come out of the academy as rescue technicians. That's how you change a system. Small incremental changes. And some of these changes I may not live to see, but I know they're going to happen because I've changed them in such a way that they can't go back.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No worries. Thank you for that excellent question. Good English, by the way, too. Better than some I hear around here. You know. Anyone else? You guys aren't hungry?
My wife is cooking rice and chicken.
Ah!
You like?
Pollo. I'm going to hold you to that. Did you hear that, stomach? We're going to Carlos's house. The rice and beans. Anyone else? Not Carlos Falios, not you. Not you. Carlos Gomez.
Okay, John.
Yes.
Me.
All right, Sergio. I'm going to take you in one more because I think you guys will stay here as long as I stay, and I'm just going to kick you out. Go ahead, my friend.
I just want to thank you for sharing with us this valid information to all our members of the fire section. And it's very important to us to have new views and different point of view of our job. And really, we appreciate your time and the time that you put in your presentation today. And we hope that we have more of this in the future. It's the first webinar that we share with our personnel, taking advantage of this situation of the COVID-19. But we think and we hope that we have more of these webinars in the future, and give you the thanks for your time and for all your information shared with us today.
Sergio, I thank you so much for that. Like we said, in this emergency, we're going to have to find good things that come out of it. And I count this as one of those good things, establishing a relationship and rapport with you. And I've got a ton of training, be more than happy to share it with you. We'll talk about that in the future. I'll be sending you all a survey as well, because that's what helps me keep doing what I do. And if you have the time to fill it out, I'd be greatly appreciate that, because it helps me determine whether we can do it better, as it were, as well. All right. Chief Omar, where are you? There he is. I can't hear you for some reason. You're not on mute. Let's try that. Let's go. You're buzzing. Let's see. I think he's doing something. Is he getting electrocuted? What happened? Did somebody wire his mic?
Can you hear me?
Got you now.
Okay, great. Okay, in the name of, Panama Canal firefighters, thank you very much for this opportunity to share the info that you share us as a leader with my group, and hopefully we will have more of this in the future. And as you said, and we talked in the past, to have you here in Panama with us, sharing your experience and making this work for the ones that come in behind us.
That's right.
So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Oliver said it best. It's about legacy. And my mentor, John Maxwell, says, you have no legacy if it doesn't have legs. And we got to make sure. All right, gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. Be safe out there, protect yourselves, protect your families, and know that I'm thinking about you all the time. All right. This concludes our session.
All right, thank you.
Later.